Hi everyone, so I am doing a video. You can hear that it's a very powerful day. It's nature for you. So Hey guys, so I decided to go inside. It's very powerful out there. It's a very powerful day. It's very rainy here in South Florida, so it's just a reminder of how amazing this world is and this universe. But that being said, so I wanted to explain some of my adventure regarding medicines and what they've done for me in my life, and how I feel that these medicines were put here by source for those of us who are ready and we're called to use them to facilitate them in our, speeding up our spiritual process, I suppose. I believe that we incarnate here and we struggle through a lot of the things that are, pertinent to being a human being, specifically because we understand on the other side that all pain is temporary, and that we take that contrast wisdom that we obtain through love, anti-love experience, and we take that contrast wisdom with us when we pass over for an eternity. So that's how I feel about spirituality in a nutshell regarding why we're here. The greater purpose is to develop our spirit. And I look at entities, all of us, as androgynous. When we pass over, there's no such thing as male or female. I believe God is also androgynous, which is feminine and masculine in one, which is what creates everything. And we are all made in the image of the creator, which is androgynous as well. And what I mean by that is that basically we're like, think of the soul as like this giant Rubik's Cube trying to figure itself out. And that's why we incarnate here, because we become more spiritually expanded when with immense amount of pressure, and again, transforming or transmuting that struggle into contrast wisdom when we're able to conquer things like addiction and not being patient, or hate or resentment or any of these things into states of bliss and love. So we do that through meditation and many different modalities that we can utilize, nourishing our bodies, body, mind, and soul. Every triad of health is considered, right? And then, of course, using plant medicines, which speeds things up a lot. So here's my experience with plant medicines. So I started with psilocybin. The person that I met who actually got me more into actually doing it, for those of you who have not seen my last video where I explain like what led me to this point of actually, experiencing the psilocybin ayahuasca DMT God molecule, go watch that video at some point. It's pretty, my journey has definitely been one that of struggle and my own experience of suffering, I suppose, by spiritual contract that led me to this direction. But anyway, it transformed my entire life, body, mind, and soul, and financial. So here's how it went. Basically, this friend, a person who eventually became my friend, I met her at a cafe probably like 3 years ago, around the time I became a caretaker for my mom. And, we just connected right away. And, we didn't talk about psilocybin right away. It wasn't until like several months later, because I was teaching spirituality classes and essential oil classes at this cafe. And she would go to them. And it was just really interesting, because I'm not going to go on a tangent about why it was so interesting and the divine synchronicities that happened. It was just that she was there, and then a month later she was there again, and I went there the same time, and neither one of us had been there, only the month prior when we last saw each other, and that happened like 3 times. So it was like something wants us to connect, and why? And now I look back retrospect, the psilocybin was a big part of it, and of course I'm sure there's many things that we'll be doing together. But she started to get really into psilocybin. If you guys haven't watched Fantastic Fungi, go watch Fantastic Fungi. Psilocybin is a mushroom. There's many different strains, and they help with raising consciousness, changing perspective, different states of awareness, if you use it responsibly. And this is what I want to press upon, is that we need to use these medicines responsibly, facilitated by people who are credentialed or know what they're doing, like shamans, people who have been doing this a long time, people who are pure-hearted and have good intentions, because it can go either way. I don't feel like any experience is like totally bad. You'll see what you need to see, but I personally don't do psilocybin and go out and party with it. Like, that's not what I do. I go within. At first I did it facilitated by this person. She's an art therapist. And when I did that, I did a heroic dose. It was 5 grams. I was at her place. She was taking notes from about like 12 feet away on the couch, and I just let the medicine take over. And it was one of, at the time, the most powerful experiences I've ever had. Not up to this point, I've had much more powerful experiences, but basically I was shown things regarding specific dynamics that I have with family members, how I can sort through all of that from the perspective of the higher mind. And I was also given, and this is what I feel like a lot of people who have programming in our society around sexuality and some religious programming too. I'm always worried that I'm going to trigger someone with this, but I don't think I should be. I'm just going to be real with you guys. There's something that happens. Have you ever seen someone, when they feel the Holy Spirit or whatever, and then they convulse and they hit the ground or whatever? I don't feel like in many cases that it's completely legitimate. I do feel that that there are people who experience that, because I am one of them, and I can tell you that for me it's completely real. It happens to me every time I do medicines. It doesn't happen to everybody, and I don't know why. But I can basically connect to the kingdom of God, whatever you want to call it, source, universe, prime creator. And there is no separation between me and that. I am one with the creator, and I have cosmic orgasm. A cosmic orgasm is not the same as a physical one. It's much more intense, and it's in your every state of being. Everything is charged by this power. So anyway, that was the first time I really had that. And I was like, I came conscious from it. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? She's like, I don't know, but I'm writing notes. So that was just a revelation of showing me things, right? That first experience with psilocybin. I don't feel like your guides or your higher mind is, well, at least in my case, I don't think it wants to show me everything, or maybe I'm not prepared for it in that one session. It was baby steps to get me to where I'm at now. I also want to mention, you guys, before I did this stuff, I'd done a 10-day meditation of Vipassana, which I explained in my last video, and I feel like that was intrinsic to me being able to break through while I'm on the medicine, because Vipassana is 10 hours per day of meditation for 10 days straight. That's thunder. The power of the universe. But so I meditated for 10 days straight, and I continued to meditate after that. And so I'm able to achieve states of bliss just through meditation, but also I'm able to connect. And there's something that I feel like I'm able to do, which was frowned upon when I was growing up. For those of you who were always told that you should stop daydreaming when you were kids, comment below. Let me know if you've ever gotten flack for that, because ever since I was a little boy, I just heard teachers all the time, you need to focus, and I could just daydream all day long. Daydreaming is a big part of how I'm able to break through and connect to God, because I'm able to just kind of like just completely lose myself and just forget I'm Rodney and just go straight to the top. And then, of course, the meditation and all the work that I put in terms of spiritual development into. So if you haven't heard of Vipassana, check it out. It's free to go to, and there's like 250 locations around the world. I won't go into that today. But it led me up to this point. Everything kind of led me up to this point. What's important about the psilocybin, you guys, and yes, it is different than bufo and ayahuasca, which I'll go into as well, but the psilocybin it's amazing for neuroplasticity. If you don't know what neuroplasticity is, look up Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza talks about neuroplasticity. He's a neuroscientist. He healed himself of like serious debilitating injuries, brain injuries, because he understood the brain. And what's interesting, you guys, is that neuroscientists used to believe that once there's some sort of brain damage or, basically a fixed bad behavior, in some cases that may have nothing to do with injuries, you're stuck. If you know someone who's irresponsible with money, if you know someone who's not productive and lazy or whatever, that they're stuck that way. It's not true. You can actually bypass many situations of brain damage or bad behaviors you can improve upon, completely rearrange your brain. As I mentioned in my last video, your brain is your hard drive, the mind is the interface, and then the soul connects everything, right? That charges everything. So the brain may have a lot of traumas and blocks and resentment and all these things that hinder us from being the true potential of the potentiality of what we came here to be. I promise in most cases, people who are watching this, wherever you're at, congratulations to you. we can go as far as we want. We are the creators of our universe. We are the co-creators of the universe. We are fractals of the creator. So we have to, when you stand in your power and you recognize how powerful you are, and anything's possible. I really truly believe the programming is to make us feel weak and insignificant, and then those in power can control us. I'm not going to go into that today, but that being said, so with the psilocybin, it speeds up neuroplasticity. So what I use psilocybin for, and what took me from like $35,000 a year to over $100,000 a year, one of my friends and uplines with my business, she's a mental health therapist practitioner in Orlando. She gave me a book called it's called The Answer, and it was written by John Assaraf. He was in the movie The Secret. And I was reading that, and I was going through neuroplasticity, and when I heard from my friend who's the art therapist about psilocybin and how it works with neuroplasticity, I'm like, wow, I could take these techniques that I'm learning from Joe Dispenza, John Assaraf, and others, gurus, and then facilitate the psilocybin and just make sure that all that goes in fast forward. But I'm using the psilocybin responsibly with these beautiful techniques, proven methods. And so that's what I did. And so I've done face-to-face affirmations, which at some point, you guys, if you have any questions and stuff, I create them. I can actually put my face-to-face affirmations in the comments below. They're YouTube videos that I make, where I'm basically doing the psilocybin, and for like 6 hours I'm meditating. I'm using my face-to-face affirmations, with some of which is like John Hopkins psilocybin soundtrack in the background. And then and I want to mention this too, you guys, for those of you who are naysayers and like maybe you want to know the science behind this. John Hopkins and many different universities and medical establishments have come out with massive amounts of data. Like it's irrefutable evidence. Like the jig is up. Like basically this has been suppressed for a long time, unfortunately, specifically I feel like to control people. And the evidence that psilocybin and many of these medicines are helpful and get people off of psychotropics and antipsychotics and just so many different things to change people's lives is just, it's amazing. And I'm not telling you guys to do it, and I said this in my last video, there are people who may not be able to do this, okay? So I want you to be careful and make sure you speak to a hopefully holistic integrative physician, someone who's a practitioner that can guide you in the right direction. But it works for me and it works for millions of people. And I'm just like inviting you to consider it. So that being said, so I use these techniques. I also use Brain Tap, which was invented by a neuroscientist named Dr. Porter. And it basically is a visor that sits on your head, and it stimulates the vagus nerve through the eyes and ears and helps to create new neural pathways of thinking, helping to get rid of old habits that no longer serve you and create new habits that serve your greater good. So these are different techniques that I use. As of yet, lately, I've been so confident in my meditation, I haven't really needed a lot of these other things, but they are the stepping stones that got me to where I am now, which I feel like I have so much more to go, but I'm so much better now than where I was. Okay, we're all on a journey. So I don't know if you guys can hear this, but the lightning is just amazing. So I did the psilocybin once again. I think it was like the third time or something. I was desperate. And again, desperation is one of the greatest gifts that the universe can give you. My mom, she would, like 3 a.m, my dad would come into my room. Your mom's fainted again. He thought she was having a stroke. She just has low blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, and some onset of dementia. And so, we got scared, and my dad would send her to the hospital, and they would make her worse. It sounded like she had Alzheimer's by the time she got out of there, and of course I'd have to bust her out of the hospital because they would not release her. But before I got her out of the hospital, I was like so just distraught and just really upset that my mom was stuck in there, and I'm like, what do we do? And I'm like, you know what, if I can't find in the physical world, I'm gonna go to the spirit world and see what I can do, or connect with my spirit guides or higher mind, and what solutions I can solve from that. And so I went to my medicine man and got some, psilocybin that I needed. And I went straight to my home, my bedroom, and I told every one of my family members, I said, do not go into my room for the next 6 hours. I'm going to go within, and I'm going to figure out what I can do. And so within that first hour, and I was using John Hopkins' psilocybin soundtrack. For those of you who have never heard of that, go to YouTube, you can look it up. It was like for the first 10-15 minutes, it doesn't take me long to break through, it's about 20 minutes maybe. I was just crying and feeling my mom's love, and just feeling all that emotion, which is so powerful in the experience, just to feel emotion. which is why I think that people who are on like antidepressants may have a harder time breaking through, because it's more about, I mean, I'm not a psychotherapist, but I think it numbs that. So for me, I felt all the emotions of that, and then something told me to turn to my right, and because I'm so focused on my mom, and then I learned to turn to my right, and I saw my father, and my father just struggling and suffering and like just exhausted, because he's been in this too for a long time, helping my mom and just different things, stressors, and it said forgive, and then I consciously forgave, and bam, I went straight to the kingdom of God, or the source energy, whatever you want to call it, and it showed me from the perspective of the creator, my father. And it helped me see him from the perspective of love, which I feel like I did, but I feel like I've had so much resentment towards him in some ways. My dad's always been amazing, and so I won't say anything bad about him, but like I have resentment in everyone's history and everything, and maybe also upset that he would take her to the hospital, or not doing the way things or the things the way that I think that they should be done, helping her with their diet and stuff. And so when I was able to see him, it was something about helping my mom. My father has something to do with that. And so to forgive him, it's like ancestral trauma alleviated. And then they have some sort of dynamic, this connection that we all have together in my family. We all chose each other. It's a multidimensional contract when we incarnate, and he's a part of it, clearly. And I have to let go and love him and just accept him and honor him the way he is, and just be grateful, because he's an incredible man. May not do things the way I want to, but that's part of my controlling people, right? I can't control people. We can't control people. The transformation must come from within, and then the reality outside of us will change for the better. More peace, more love, more abundance in our life. Okay. So I might leave things out because there's so much, and I know that people's attention spans are not like huge, and I want to keep it somewhat short, but so yeah, that was one of my experiences. And for a lot of people, like, Rodney, what did you feel when you go to the kingdom of God, or like source energy, and you're connected to Prime Creator? What does that feel like? I can't tell you. It's all I can tell you is just complete bliss, love, happiness. It's the most intense, most beautiful cosmic orgasm that you could ever experience. And you couldn't paint it. Like, it's a sense that we don't have here on Earth. Once you connect or tap into your higher mind, it is like everything. And without doubt that this is not it. This is just an avatar. I'm not Rodney. I'm playing this part and stuff, and I'm utilizing Rodney to experience what it's like to be on Earth. And thank you, universe, for allowing me to do that and giving me a breath of life every day. But it's temporary. Who I really am is a co-creator of the universe, like I've mentioned before, just like the rest of you. And we're all brothers and sisters. Okay, so that was my first few experiences with psilocybin. And then I did ayahuasca, and ayahuasca is, for those of you who aren't familiar with ayahuasca, it's different. It's not a mushroom, it's the DMT God molecule. And there's bufo as well, and bufo comes from a frog, and the God's molecule is in there as well. And then the ayahuasca comes from, I believe, a root, and forgive me if I'm getting any of this wrong, I'm not a shaman, so I don't know how the process goes, but it comes from the rainforest, and our ancestors apparently have been using this for many hundreds of years. So for spiritual purposes. So they basically boil the ayahuasca, and then they facilitate it in cups of liquid. And it tastes like salty goji berries. That's my best description. But anyway, the first time I did it was one of the first times that I was able to, I don't want to call it the first time, it was a different sort of experience, but again, it was like that cosmic feeling where I was able to break through and alleviate different layers of my ego. And that's a big part of this too, you guys. You're alleviating parts of your ego that are holding you back. Once you get rid of the egoic stuff, the layers of trauma and resentment and judgment and all that stuff dissipates, all that's left is your higher mind. There's nothing else, because nothing else exists. This is just noise. That's all just noise. And once you connect and you align, you can start creating a better world for yourself. So the first time I did ayahuasca, I was with a group of people in Miami, and I felt different aspects of my personality as Rodney: judgment towards other people and myself, insecurity, criticism, skepticism, which holds me back from having complete faith. And as they alleviated, I just kept going higher and higher until I was like, you know, and you just saw, and I looked on both sides of me and I was like, did you just feel that? And they were like, no. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never felt anything, you know? And the psilocybin also was amazing. And I just feel like they're different experiences, but at the same time, you go very, very high. So that was my first time doing this, the ayahuasca. But then I did ayahuasca again. But before I did bufo. Now, bufo is where you take a puff, and it's a DMT molecule goes into your system, and it lasts for about 15 minutes. Ayahuasca is about like 6 hours to 8 hours, and you're in a ceremony with a bunch of people. With bufo, it could be private, but there were like 10 people there. But you do yours privately to the side, like near trees and stuff. At least I did. And there was like facilitators and stuff who were there, who are just pure-hearted, good intention. That's what you need when you're doing this. It's a responsible spiritual awakening that you have. Or I feel like the spiritual awakening happens when you do it responsibly with the medicine and you're around people. The environment plays a big role here. So when I did that, my guides, they went within, right? Like I felt all of my guides surrounding me, and they were like, it's okay, you know? And so like I felt, and I knew what they were doing because I was connected to infinite wisdom. And so it's as if I had done it before too, and I was able to completely surrender and let them take over and do what they needed to do within me, because I knew what they were doing, because I was so connected that I was like, yeah, let's go, this is it, I understand, like, you know? And so after the bufo, where like you are, and this is another thing, ayahuasca, you're kind of like observing the transformation and all these things happening and stuff, whereas the bufo, there is no separation between you and creator. There's just you are the universe. And they're able, I feel like the guides and the creator source energy and stuff are able to just completely come in and do what they need to do. By spiritual contract, it is an appointment by divinity for you to have that ceremony. You know, this is, everything's meant to be. Everything is blueprinted. So, and then there's free will, which is hard for people to understand because that contrast. But anyway, so then I went back and did bufo. No, excuse me, I did bufo and then I did ayahuasca. And the ayahuasca ceremony that I did, it was more intense than the first ayahuasca that I did, because now I'd already done the bufo and they'd unlocked mechanisms within my being that allowed for them to work on me more with the ayahuasca. When I did ayahuasca for the second time, I literally felt my entities, I felt my guides come in with strings of light into my body and work in like different networks of my being, physical and mental and spiritual, and in my brain. I felt them coming into my neck and then moving upward, and I felt a pop, and then I felt them going down into my intestines and my stomach and gut, and then I feel a gurgle. And so like they're moving things out energetically from my body that don't serve me, like, you know, muck, just stuff on your, everyone has stuff that they've like compiled over the years, especially if you're not, you know, letting go. You know, you have to let go. It is so a big part of this spiritual process of being on earth. You have to let go, forgive, let go of the poison, and that's hard to do, especially if you don't know it's there. It's all in your subconscious, just sitting there, and it is going to hinder you from having a better experience on earth. So the medicine helps to basically bubble all that to the surface. You face it, you conquer it, and then you let it go peacefully, and then bam, you go to the next level. So with the ayahuasca, I'm gonna try to keep this under 30 minutes. So the ayahuasca, it cleared me out, and then all of a sudden I started to kind of speak in a language very tribal, and it just, again, the you know, I don't want to call it the Holy Spirit, but I guess I will. It's like, it just depends. It doesn't matter, you guys, the verbiage. I feel like with different religions and spirituality, much of them are really talking about the same thing anyway, as long as it comes from the heart and love. I mean, it's basically the same thing. So but anyway, when I did the ayahuasca, I feel like my guides were able to come in and like clear stuff in my chakras and different networks throughout my body and energy. And then when I did the psilocybin, which was like, I don't know, a few weeks later, and I know this sounds like a lot going on at once, just so you know, this is a span of like 4 years. I did psilocybin again a few weeks later, and when I did the psilocybin, I was able to completely break through. But before I did, they turned my neck to the side. When I say they, my guides, I could see them. There were like 7 of them, humanoid entities, angels, whatever you want to call them, they turned my neck to the side. They took my tongue and put it to the side like this. And like dentists, it's almost like they're certified dentists or energetic surgeons from the other side. They know exactly what they're doing, and they go into my throat chakra or into this area, right where I speak, where words come from, and in my brain. And so they're moving things around and disconnecting and connecting, and they know exactly what they're doing, and I allow it. And I can stop it at any time, but I don't need to, because I know exactly what they're doing. It's okay. I'm letting it happen. And so they come in through like a portal and they do what they need to do, and then bam, they put my neck back and I start to speak a different language. And it happened for a little bit as I connected completely. And when I connect, it basically feels like this massive amount of thousands of puzzle pieces connecting from all ends, and until everything is one. And then you're completely connected to source. And then I start to speak the language. Now, when I did Bufo a couple months later, after I had already experienced this, I already unlocked this ability. I did Bufo. I didn't know it was going to happen. I figured it would be like the last time, which was beautiful and incredible. Can't imagine it being any better. But it got even better. I did the Bufo. There were 4 people around me. We wish that we videotaped it so I could show it, but I almost like am worried too, because again, people have religious programming and, you know, a lot of people out there that may judge, but whatever. We're so shifting into a new age, a new state of consciousness now. I think a lot more people are open to this, and for those who are not, you know, it is what it is. They can do their own thing. I wish them well and send them on their way, but you know, everyone's on their own journey. But when I did this, I took in the medicine and they set me back. And then in my mind, what's happening is I completely connect without any distractions or interference. Like within moments, it was probably almost immediate. And I connect to the creator, again, no separation. My guides and everything are there. And it is just complete bliss, love to the, like 1,000 times greater than you could imagine loving anybody. Unconditional love. Like I'm the most beautiful thing on the planet in the universe, you know, love. And I know exactly what they're doing, as if I'd done it before to other people as a guide myself, and I'm allowing it. And in the very beginning, they start to go into my neck, and every single vein I feel like is being, you know, energy is going through everything and into my brain and into my pineal gland, and then I start to speak, and the words come out. Now, when I come to, one of the facilitators, she touches my arm, and she's like, "Sweetie, do you know that you speak light language?" And I said, "What is that?" And she starts giggling and she's like, "You speak a sacred and ancient language. And it's sacred geometry in vibration. It's very healing. You have so much medicine to share." You know, I've been obsessed with natural health and healing from a physical standpoint, nutrition, you know, detox, stress management, you know, all that. But I'm becoming much more spiritual, and I'm realizing my calling is much greater. And so I want to help people in every facet of life, including that. And for those of you who are a little scared by some of these things, remember, you don't have to do this, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You can have this experience on earth to be anything that you want. I just want people to be open that things are out there. And if you're hearing this now and you've gotten to this point in the video, then you're meant to get to this point. You are meant to hear this. And they say that with these medicines, or even on people on a spiritual journey of enlightenment, you know, it's only for people who are willing to put the work in, but also who are open, have an open heart and an open mind, and are being called to do it. What the message is given to me, because while I'm, like, for instance, doing the psilocybin, they're downloading information to my brain and my essence, right? While at the same time, I'm connected to my guides, right? And then also they're doing the neuroplasticity of reprogramming my thinking in my brain. So all these things are happening at the same time, and the message that I'm getting is that there are basically entities that sent here like seeds around the earth, and we're moving into we're transitioning it from the dark ages, which I think a lot of people don't realize. We just came out of the dark ages. We've been in it for a long time. It didn't stop, like even through the 90s and early 2000s, and now we're transitioning into the golden age. And through that transition parallel, there's a lot of things happening. They're scaring the crap out of a lot of people because their program is being threatened and questioned. They're questioning things, you know, and so that's scary and disturbing when you unveil the truth. But I'm being told many of us have come here as volunteers. Thousands, probably millions, in different ways, in different stages of spiritual consciousness. And we've come here to help wake people up to what's happening. There's so much happening, you guys, in the next several years and beyond. But the best thing you can do is meditate and just and try not to fall into don't take things to a dark place, because those in power do want to keep us in a state of fear. Love is all there is. Like I said, there's love and contrast love, but what creates everything is love. And again, you can create your own reality. That's what you're here for. You are a creator. Whether you're an artist or it doesn't matter. You're a creator of your own universe. Whether you think you're not a you're a creator or not a creator, you are a creator. You're a co-creator of the universe. So that being said, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I have to decide whether I want to share this. But I'm going to do it because I have nothing to gain from sharing this, and just knowing that I'm helping people, and someone out there needs to hear this. Many people need to hear this all over the world. That now is the time to wake up to your true power and your true calling. You are here for a greater purpose than you think. And now's the time. So I love you guys. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'm here to assist. If you see my other videos on TikTok, go check them out. If you haven't seen them yet, I talk about all kinds of stuff: spirituality, essential oils, detox, nutrition, stress management, all holistic. All right, guys, have a beautiful day. I will talk to you soon.